Time's Up, the advocacy organization born out of the Me Too movement, has a new leader. Tchen is taking the reins as president and CEO. A lawyer and former chief of staff to First Lady Michelle Obama, Tchen most recently worked on the organization's legal defense fund. In today's Bloomberg Equality, our ongoing conversation about the bottom line impact of diversity, I sat down with Tina to discuss her new role.
Interest has not lagged. We still have, millions of small donors and large donors who are interested in this work, and we're going to keep growing that.
You mentioned the fundraising you did for the Signature Legal Defense Fund, which connects victims of sexual harassment in the workplace with lawyers. Last year, the fund added, $2 million to bring the total to $24 million. Now, the skeptic might say that some momentum, at least by this metric, is waning. What are you going to be doing to get more money? You mentioned small donors. Is that the way forward?
Well, I would challenge the skeptic and say we are an organization that's not even 2 years old, and have raised, tens of millions of dollars already for a cause, from donors as small as $2 and $3 donors to, six-figure donors. And, we are going to keep growing that. There is tremendous interest and tremendous desire, and I think it's because this is something everybody experiences. The EEOC tells us that as many as 85% of women in the workplace have experienced sexual harassment in some form or another. So this is something that everyone realizes is an issue. And what we need to do is give them solutions and help, get them to invest in those solutions.
Now you'll be opening up a new office in Chicago to add to your locations in New York, in Washington, and in Los Angeles. How do you overcome the perception that advancing gender equality is not as important in the heartland as it is along the coasts?
Well, I think we keep talking to workers and keep supporting them. Several of our cases, for example, one of the cases that Time's Up Legal Defense Fund is funding is on behalf of a nuclear power plant worker, that's in the heartland. We've continued to support, workers, in all industries all across the country. This is not just a coastal issue. This isn't just a low-wage issue or a, C-suite issue. This really affects everyone in every industry. The people who come to Time's Up Legal Defense Fund, for example, represent more than 60 different industries. So this is really everywhere. It's not concentrated in one sector or another. It's not even concentrated in the private sector. It's in the not-for-profit sector. It's in the political sector. This is pretty pervasive.
What do you think is the biggest misperception when it comes to Time's Up, or Me Too for that matter?
Probably that it is just about sexual harassment, because I think I want to reemphasize that the core to solving sexual harassment is to build better workplaces at its very base, meaning we really have to treat workers better across the board.
You've been fighting for gender equality and workers' rights for 4 decades now. You first helped to rewrite criminal sexual assault laws in Illinois when you were at the National Organization of Women. Then you were a partner at big-time law firms, whether it was Skadden Arps or Buckley Sandler later on. In between, you were in Washington working at the Obama White House, serving First Lady Michelle Obama as her chief of staff. It's not often when the national conversation converges with something that you've been working for and towards your entire life. Talk about how everything has culminated into this moment and why this moment is so critical right now to really make hay while the sun shines.
Well, Scarlet, you're right. I have been at this. I've not only been fighting for these issues, I've lived these issues. I was a single working mom my entire career. So I've kind of lived that tightrope that you walk when you're a single working mom between home and work. And yet, I had resources, right? I was a partner at a big law firm. And I can only imagine how impossible the tightrope is to navigate if you're a low-wage worker. You're existing on minimum wage. You don't even have paid sick days to take off if you're sick or your child is sick. So that's why I really was privileged to be able to work on those issues in the Obama White House, to put together the first ever White House Summit on working families. So I've been passionate about it. But you're right, we are at a singular moment, one that I've not seen in the entire 4 decades I've been working on this, where the national conversation for 2 years has been sustained and focused on the importance of workplaces and the unfairness that women in the workplace face, and a real willingness on companies and everyone to fight that.
And that was my conversation with Tchen. She's the incoming president and CEO of Time's Up. And as I mentioned, she'll be based in Chicago, but she's been jetting all over the place. She's been in Washington, of course, last couple of years as former First Lady Michelle Obama's chief of staff. And she came to New York to talk to the press. So she's everywhere.